What would you do if someone offered to make you the most beautiful person in the world? But there was one condition. You could never look at your own reflection in the mirror, not even once. Would you take the risk? In a small village, there was a girl named Idara. Idara was not like the other girls in the village. She was very kind and intelligent, known for her gentle heart and quiet nature. But there was one thing she wanted more than anything else. It was beauty. While other girls were admired for their lovely faces and beautiful features, Idara felt overlooked. She dreamed of the day when people would stop, stare, and marvel at her beauty. She really desired to be beautiful so she could get the attention that everybody else was getting. Idara believed that the attention would change her life. As the years passed, Idara's desire only grew. It consumed her, becoming an obsession she could not shake off. She spent hours standing by the village well, looking into the water's surface, wishing her reflection would change, but it never did. The same plain face stared back at her day after day. The other girls noticed that she always spent a lot of time looking at her reflection. They whispered and rumored behind her back, and sometimes they laughed at her, silent longing for a beauty she did not have. Idara often heard rumors about a powerful old woman who lived deep in the forest beyond the village. They said the old woman could grant any wish, but at a price. People whispered about how the old woman had given riches to the poor and even brought back dead people to life. But there were always dark rumors that followed these stories. Rumors of terrible consequences, strange disappearances, and worse. The villagers warned each other to stay away from the forest. Many who had gone seeking the woman's help never returned, or if they come back, they are changed forever. Still, the thought of this woman stirred something in Idara. If anyone could make her beautiful, it was the old woman. Idara watched as many beautiful girls in the village got married, some younger than her. It bothered her that she could not get any man to notice her. She felt invisible, like she blended in with the air. When her young cousin got married, Idara was so sad about that. I have to do something about this. I am tired of waiting and hoping that my kindness and my internal beauty will speak for me. I have to get up and do something before it's too late, she said to herself. Late one evening, while the sun went down and the village grew quiet, Idara made a decision. She could no longer bear the feeling of being invisible. Her desire for beauty was greater than her fear of the unknown. That night, she sneaked out of her home, leaving behind the safety of her village, and entered the dark forest. The forest was thick with towering trees and shadows that seemed to move on their own. The deeper Idara walked, the more she felt the air around her grow cold. Her heart pounded in her chest, but she pressed on, her feet guiding her towards the heart of the forest where the old woman lived. As she kept walking into the forest, hours passed and Idara began to doubt her decision. She had no idea where she was going, and the branches of the trees made it feel like the forest was closing in on her. Just when she thought about turning around, she saw it, a small dirty hut hidden between the roots of a big ancient tree. Idara waited for a moment before approaching the door. With trembling hands, she knocked. The door opened slowly, revealing an old figure seated inside. The old woman's eyes glittered with a knowing look, as if she had been expecting Idara all along. Idara, so you have come for beauty, the old woman said, her voice low and deep. You seek to be admired and adored by all who see you, don't you? Idara nodded, too nervous to speak. The old woman laughed softly. I can grant you this wish. I can make you the most beautiful girl the world has ever seen. But there is one condition. Idara leaned in, her heart racing. You must never, ever look at your own reflection again. No mirrors, no water, no glass. If you do, the consequences will be severe. The warning sent a chill down Idara's spine, but her desire for beauty was too strong. She thought to herself, how hard can it be? I have lived without beauty for so long, so I can live without seeing myself in the mirror. I will do whatever it takes for me to be beautiful. The price is not that bad. Without a second thought, she agreed. The old woman's smile widened, her teeth yellowed and sharp. She made some concoction and gave Idara to drink. Then she waved her hand over Idara, and in an instant, a warm sensation spread through Idara's body. It felt as though she was being transformed from the inside out. Her skin tingled, her hair felt fuller, and she could feel the change before she even saw it. When Idara left the old woman's hut, she felt different. When she returned to the village, the reaction was immediate. People stared as she passed by, their mouth open wide. People whispered with admiration. People followed her everywhere, looking at how beautiful she was. Idara's beauty was beyond anything the village had ever seen. Her once plain and ordinary features had transformed into something breathtaking. Her skin glowed like the sun, her hair shimmered like silk, and her eyes sparkled like the stars. Her body was curvier, and her face was the most beautiful. At first, Idara was so happy. Every day people complimented her, admired her, and treated her like royalty. The attention she had once longed for was now hers. The girls who had once laughed at her now envied her. The boys who had never noticed her were now fighting for her attention. Men lined up outside her house to propose marriage to her. Girls lined up outside her house to invite her to places. Idara's beauty had made her the most important person in the village. But with all the admiration came something unexpected. She wanted to look at herself in the mirror so much. She could feel her beauty. She could hear how people were in awe of her beauty, but she could not see it. She couldn't look in the mirror to see what she looked like. And as the days passed, this small curiosity grew into a burning desire. She had followed the old woman's rule at first, avoiding mirrors and all reflection, but it became harder and harder. The more people complimented her, the more she wanted to see how beautiful she looked. The old woman's warning echoed in her mind. No mirrors, but Idara told herself, just one glance, just one time, take a look for just one time. One night, unable to resist any longer, Idara sneaked into her bedroom and took the small mirror she had hidden under her bed. With trembling hands, she lifted the mirror to her face. At first, she was mesmerized. The reflection staring back at her was the most beautiful thing she had ever seen or imagined. Her skin was flawless, and her eyes sparkled like precious gems, and her hair was perfect. She smiled and admired the transformation. But as she continued to stare, something shifted. Her reflection began to change. Her skin that was once smooth and radiant started to crack. Her eyes that was once bright and full of light darkened into deep hollow pits. Her hair that was full and beautiful began to fall away in clumps. The longer she looked, the more monstrous her reflection became. Idara screamed and dropped the mirror, but it was too late. The curse had been unleashed. By the next morning, Idara's beauty was gone. She looked in the mirror again, desperate to see her beautiful reflection once more. But the monster was all that stared back at her. Her heart raced as she ran to the village, hoping to find someone who could help her. But to her shock, the villagers still saw her as beautiful. To them, nothing had changed. They continued to compliment her and marvel at her appearance, completely unaware of the horror that Idara now saw in herself. It was then that Idara realized the true meaning of the curse. She had traded her soul for beauty, and now, while others still saw her as perfect, she could only see the monster in her. Every mirror, every reflection showed her the twisted and horrific version of herself. As days turned into weeks, Idara became more and more isolated. She refused to leave her home. Too scared to see her reflection in any surface, she covered all the mirrors, avoided water, and even refused to go outside when it rained because she was scared that she could see her reflection in the puddles on the ground. But no matter how much she tried to escape, the reflection haunted her. It was in her dreams, in the shadows in her room, in every corner of her mind. The beauty she had once craved was now her curse. The reflection scared her and made her scream at the monster. Her family heard her screams everywhere in the house, but they couldn't see what was scaring her. She pointed to her horror reflection, but no one could see it except her. Her family was worried that she had gone mad, so they locked all the doors to prevent her from running into the village. A few weeks later, the family was desperate to undo the damage Idara had done, so she took them back to the forest, looking for the old woman's hut. But the forest seemed different this time, darker and more scary. They searched for days, wandering through the dense trees, but the hut was nowhere to be found. When she finally stumbled upon an empty space in the forest where the hut used to be, there was nothing left but silence. The old woman was gone, and her chance of undoing the curse was gone as well. Idara was left to live with the decision. Though the villagers continued to praise her beauty, Idara only saw the monster in the mirror, the reflection that showed her true self, twisted by vanity, corrupted by her desire for perfection. She was so withdrawn from people and refused to leave her room. No one knew the true reason why such a beautiful girl refused to come outside. Her once joyful smile had faded into a permanent expression of sorrow. And so, Idara lived out her days, haunted by the reflection she could never escape. The beauty that had once been her greatest desire had become her greatest curse. What would you have done in Idara's place? Could you resist the temptation to look? Remember, sometimes what we want the most comes with a price that we're not ready to pay. Let me know your thoughts in the comment below. And if you enjoyed this story, you would love the next one. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next story. Bye.